Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today we're going to be talking about sodium-ion batteries.
Ooh, sodium.
Yeah. We got a note from Calpurnia about uh, using them to replace like an old EV battery. Like, you have an old EV, the battery's not lasting as long. Could you just swap in a sodium-ion battery?
Right. Yeah.
And then also Sam Evans, the EV expert, had some recent news about sodium-ion batteries. So we thought we'd dive into both of those things.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So Calpurnia, it sounds like you're thinking, long term about your EV.
Yeah, they are, which is great.
Yeah. And it seems like these new batteries could be like the thing that lets people keep these older cars on the road way longer than anyone expected initially.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. I think the thing that's getting everybody really excited is the sustainability and the cost.
Okay. So let's break those down. First, lithium mining, it's not great for the environment, right? So how does sodium compare?
Well, think of lithium like gold, It's relatively rare and it's hard to mine and it's very disruptive to the environment. But sodium is like sand.
Oh.
It's everywhere. So it's easy to extract, abundant, and much less impactful on the environment.
So moving to these sodium batteries, it could be a really big win for the planet. But what about like our wallets? What's the cost going to look like?
Well, this is what I'm really excited about. They're projected to be way cheaper than lithium-ion batteries, which could be a huge game changer for EV owners.
Right.
Imagine replacing your battery with a sodium battery, but at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, that's kind of what got me really excited about this too. And Calpurnia, you mentioned wanting to keep your EV running for like another 20 years and maybe even longer if this sodium ion tech works out.
Right.
So are we really talking about like EVs that could last for decades? That seems almost too good to be true.
Well, Sam Evans, he highlighted some research that's saying these batteries could last up to 50 years.
50 years. That's longer than most people even keep their cars.
Yeah.
Wow. That totally changes how we think about like car ownership, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah. Like instead of this constant upgrade cycle, we're talking about longevity and like enduring value.
So it's like buying a car for life almost.
Yeah.
But okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. All that stuff like the cost and the sustainability sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But how do these batteries actually perform? Like how do they compare to the lithium-ion batteries that we're using now?
Yeah, so performance was a concern initially, but there have been huge breakthroughs. One of the key factors here is energy density. You know how much power you can pack into the battery?
So higher energy density means I can drive farther on a single charge.
Exactly. And it also impacts charging times. So this is what's really cool. They're experimenting with new materials like sodium vanadium phosphate.
Sodium vanadium phosphate.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And they're seeing really good increases in energy density.
So what's so special about sodium vanadium phosphate?
Well, it's this type of cathode material that's really promising for improving energy density for sodium-ion batteries. And get this, some sodium-ion batteries are already reaching 458 watt-hours per kilogram.
458. Whoa, yeah. I read about that in Sam Evans's article. That was really surprising. So, like, what does that mean in real life? How does that compare to the batteries we have now?
So many EV batteries now have, energy densities between 150 and 250 watt-hours per kilogram. So 458, that's a huge jump.
Wow. So longer range and faster charging times.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all really exciting, but how practical is it to actually implement this technology?
That's a good question. There are a couple of technical considerations. First, the sodium-ion batteries, they could fit in the same space as our current EV batteries.
So it's not just a simple swap.
Not necessarily. There might need to be some structural changes, and they would probably need a new battery management system, a BMS, for safety and optimal performance.
Or we're talking about retrofitting old EVs with new batteries and a new BMS.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And that brings up some interesting questions about how this technology could impact the whole EV market.
Yeah, I mean, imagine this could be like a huge disruptor to the car industry.
Totally.
Like imagine a world where EVs are even more affordable and accessible.
Yeah.
It could open up like a whole new part of the market.
It could.
And it could really accelerate the transition to electric cars. But it's not just about new cars, right? I mean, you mentioned wanting to keep your current EV going for another 20 years. What about all those other people with older EVs?
That's a really good point. The sodium-ion tech could give those vehicles a whole second life.
Yeah.
Extend their lifespan, keep them out of the landfills.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if these batteries can really last for 50 years, Wouldn't that, like, totally change the way we think about car ownership?
Yeah, it would.
Like, instead of buying a car for a few years, we're talking about buying a car for, like, a generation.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. It really is.
It is,
Mm.
and one that we'll definitely need to explore further.
Yeah. It really challenges our current, business models that are built around planned obsolescence. You know, that idea that products are designed to break down or become outdated after a certain amount of time.
Right, right.
So if cars are lasting for decades, how would car companies adapt? Would they even want to produce vehicles that last that long?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It would require, like, a huge shift in their thinking, right?
Definitely.
Like, instead of relying on, frequent new car sales,
Hmm.
maybe they would have to focus on providing long-term service contracts
Right.
or explore new business models like those mobility subscriptions.
Yeah, like instead of buying a car outright, you're basically paying for access to transportation for a longer period of time.
Exactly, yeah.
And with the cost savings of sodium ion, those subscriptions could be even more appealing.
Yeah, it's like what we've seen with software going from one-time purchases to subscriptions.
Mm.
But let's zoom back in on the environmental impact for a second. We talked about the sustainable sourcing of sodium, but what about the batteries themselves at the end of their life?
That's a key part of sustainability. One of the big concerns with lithium-ion batteries is recycling them and the potential for e-waste.
Right, all those toxic materials ending up in landfills.
Exactly. But with sodium ion, the recycling process is supposed to be much simpler and more efficient.
Okay.
The materials can be recovered and reused more easily, which reduces the environmental impact overall.
So we're talking about like a circular economy for battery materials.
Exactly.
That's huge. It totally fits with the idea of, extending the lifespan of EVs. We're not just keeping old cars running, we're creating a more sustainable system from like start to finish.
Precisely. And this is where technological innovation and societal values start to meet.
It's like we're realizing that progress isn't always about the newest, coolest gadget.
Right.
Sometimes it's about making smarter, more sustainable choices with the technology we already have.
Very well said.
And as we learn more about the potential for sodium ion, it's a conversation we should be having,
Yeah.
not just in the car industry, but across society as a whole.
I agree.
We're talking about like a potential shift in how we think about transportation and energy and our relationship with the planet.
Big stuff.
But with all this talk about the future, I want to bring it back to the present for a minute.
What do you mean?
Well, in your note, Calpurnia, you mentioned being at a decision point with your current EV,
Right.
like whether to scrap it or invest in a new battery.
Yeah.
It sounds like sodium ion could really make the case for keeping those older EVs on the road.
Absolutely. It makes a strong economic and environmental argument for giving those vehicles a second life instead of just, getting rid of them prematurely.
It's like a sustainability trifecta.
Yeah.
Reduced mining, longer lifespan, and more efficient recycling. And speaking of sustainability, and you said you wanted to keep your EV going for at least another 20 years, imagine the impact that would have on your carbon footprint.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what's exciting. It lets people make a real difference.
But let's be real for a second. Are there any downsides or challenges to a battery lasting that long?
Well, one concern is it could stifle innovation in battery tech. If everyone's using the same batteries for decades, would we have enough incentive to develop newer, better technologies?
That's a good point. It's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
It
Like
is.
we want batteries that last, but we also want to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
For sure.
And we also have to consider how fast tech is advancing in other areas. What if the rest of the car is outdated long before the battery dies?
Right. It's not just about the battery. It's about how it fits with the whole car.
Yeah, that's an important thing to think about.
It is, and it's something that car manufacturers will have to address as they start using sodium-ion batteries.
It sounds like there are still a lot of open questions and challenges.
Yeah,
But the potential benefits are huge.
they are. And I think it comes down to finding a balance between technological advancement, economic viability, and environmental responsibility.
Well, before we wrap up our deep dive, there's one more thought I want to explore. We've been talking about, EVs lasting for decades and what that means for car companies. But what about us? Like, how would this tech change, like, our relationship with our cars?
That's a really interesting question. We're so used to this cycle of trading in our cars every few years.
Right.
But what if we knew from the start that this car could be with us for 20, 30, 50 years?
That's a generational car, almost, like something you could pass down.
Exactly. It would definitely change the emotional connection we have. It wouldn't just be transportation, it would be part of the family.
Yeah, it's funny, Calpurnia, you mentioned keeping your current EV for another 20 years.
Yeah.
I actually had a car I kept for almost 15.
Wow.
It wasn't an EV, but I was so attached to it.
I bet.
There's something special about having a car that you've shared so many experiences with.
There is.
Yeah, and I think that sense of connection could be even stronger with an EV, that's designed to last for that long. But it also makes you wonder about about our desire for the latest technology. Would we be okay sticking with the same car even when newer, like, fancier models come out?
That's a challenge for car companies to figure out. Maybe they'll focus on modular designs, where you can do upgrades and updates to keep the tech fresh, even if the basic car stays the same.
So, like, instead of replacing the whole car, you're just swapping out parts as you need to. Kind of like we upgrade our phones now.
Exactly. Much more sustainable, and it lets people keep the cars they love.
This whole conversation has really made me think differently about the future of transportation. It's not just about the tech. It's about how that tech changes our behavior and our values.
It's true. And at the end of the day, it's up to us, as consumers to decide what kind of future we want.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into sodium-ion batteries, we want to leave you with a question. If you knew that your next EV could last for 50 years, how would that change how you think about buying a car? Would you be willing to make that kind of commitment? Would you choose sustainability and longevity over having the newest model? These are all questions worth thinking about as we move into this really exciting world of electric vehicles.
Definitely. Things are changing so quickly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and interesting. Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the future of tech and innovation. And from all of us here at the Deep Dive, we wish you a very Merry Christmas.